Here we go.
Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're all well on this frisky Friday. That's it. It's Friday and it's frisky and you're looking damn amazing. We're going to get straight into the meat and potatoes. As look, I felt only right, really, to speak about something. We did a live the other night, and it was during that live that it became clear that there had been a tragedy. And that tragedy came in the form of Liam Payne, the lad who had risen to fame very, very rapidly with his bandmates in One Direction. And unless you completely live off-grid or under a rock, then you definitely know who One Direction are. Liam Payne was the young member who would go on to court. That's a proper word, isn't it? Date, court, my old granddad would say, courting. Cheryl Cole. I know it's now Tweedy or someone similar. Cole Tweedy, Tweedy Cole, Cheryl, and they have a child together. And look, we didn't initially know what happened. We had suspicions because it would appear that Liam had fallen, air quotes, off of a balcony in Buenos Aires. I know it might not be how you pronounce it, it's how I pronounce it. Argentina. Should have just gone with that. That was easier, wasn't it? So yeah, he'd spent some days there. He was going to watch, I believe it was Niall Horan who had been performing there. And this is reminiscent of things, and there are lessons to be learned around this, because obviously time has progressed and, you know, hours have passed and we learn more. We learn a lot more. And it would seem that there is a potential that this was not only, how can I say, not only inevitable, but it was preventable, definitely preventable. But it proves that things just don't ever change. Things don't change, and it's really, really sad that this is how things are in the world. You know, Liam was a childhood star. I believe it was like at 14, around that sort of age, that he would be put together into what would turn out to be literally, arguably, or not even arguably, the biggest boy band to have existed in our lifetime to date. And what happens in these situations is that they're thrust into the public eye. And, you know, everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people, especially youngsters, they probably have dreams and aspirations of becoming rich and famous. But there is a dark side to that rich and fame. Like, I'll give you, and look, there's going to be some things that we speak about in the next few minutes that could be difficult and triggering for some people. So if you are easily triggered by the speak of self-harm, for instance, then I would probably suggest not listening. And, you know, I come from a place of knowledge over this sort of topic because I sadly have lost people close to me, both parents and friends, in this manner. And, you know, it brings you back to thinking about the likes of Kurt Cobain, for instance. And look, I know there's a lot of thoughts and feelings around Kurt Cobain. He's not the only famous person who was Heath Ledger, who you saw at the beginning of this video, Robin Williams. And again, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. So Liam has just added himself into that list of stars, of bright stars that sadly burnt out too soon. But as this has kind of broken and the new information has come out, we've heard about how his life had seemingly been descending into complete chaos. He had been apparently dropped by his record label. Like, we'll just, while I talk about this, we'll just look, it's been being followed live because there's been a lot of people who are obviously been affected by this. People in kind of his world, if you like. We've got Camilla Cabello, who has come out. I know that we've had Liam Gallagher. He has also come out, and he's basically said, look, we get one life, kind of live it carefully, or I'm paraphrasing, but along the lines of, you've got to think what you're doing. Be careful with your life. Be careful what you project onto others as well. Because look, I'm just a teeny weeny little content creator, but the amount of stick and abuse and name calling and all this sort of stuff that you get, even at this level, do you know what I mean? If people aren't of strong mind, I know that there's content creators who have had to take a sabbatical because of the stress that has been caused by being on the platform and being consistently and constantly attacked over and over and over again. So that pales in comparison to someone of Liam's stature, what he would have been going through, what he would have been subjected to. Every single thing that he does, every single interaction would have been transactional. There wouldn't have been any, or he couldn't have perhaps trusted that there was any realness to it. But look, it would seem that everything culminated into a massive, great, traumatic situation at this hotel in Argentina. And like I say, I'm just scrolling through some pictures. There's some old pictures of Liam with the likes of Niall and co, Louis Tomlinson, and it would appear that Liam, on top of everything, so on top of the emotional situation he was going through, like I say, that he'd apparently been dropped by his record label. He was being sued by an ex-partner. So his life was in a bit of a situation. His ex-partner had apparently gone on and done a podcast recently that had been seemingly suggesting that Liam's mindset surrounding what potentially happened in this hotel room was something that has been coming. It's existed. He had himself done interviews where he had spoken about wanting things to end at least a couple of times previously. We've got coming across the screen here some pictures of the hotel room, because it would seem that what had happened is that the hotel has had to call authorities because of somebody out of control within the hotel complex. It would appear that he was having some form of episode. He was smashing the room to pieces, obviously under the influence. And by the time that law enforcement, the authorities had gotten there, they sadly arrived too late. And he was pronounced dead at the scene with horrific injuries, including a massive head injury. And they've basically said, look, there was nothing that could do. It was very likely that he died instantly. It was even though it was only a third floor balcony, which initially made people it was like, what? Only a third floor? Over 100 feet high, down into a patio area onto concrete. But yeah, so they would seemingly get there too late. And that seems to be the story of Liam Payne's life, people getting there way too late. All of these tributes, although it's nice to see people paying tribute and saying what an amazing person he was, but this is all in hindsight, isn't it? We're now looking at a situation where he has now lost his life. He is no longer with us. He was young. He was 31 years old, and he is survived by his child. I believe the child's name is Bear, that he shares with the aforementioned lady. Her name's just fucked off straight out of my brain. Proves how old I am. Cheryl Tweedy. And yeah, we've got this situation as well. As a spur off, TMZ had apparently shown a photograph that depicted the area where he had sadly fallen to and shown his arm. So they've kind of tried to defend their position there, but there is no defense of that, isn't there? And this is like what I go back to about how everything is transactional when it comes to people in a certain category of fame. You know, even in his death, it's still about seeing how much money we can earn off of this person. And it could be argued that I'm speaking about Liam Payne now, and this is transactional. But like I say, I come from a place where I've lost people in this situation where, you know, can we as a society do better? All of these people who have come forward and offered, you know, their condolences and said how fantastic and amazing he was, but he seemingly wasn't fantastic and amazing enough for people to know what he was going through, or they knew what he was going through. And between them all, and we're talking about very, very rich people and people who have, you know, done, you know, they've got the means. Like, I know that, I think it's one of the, who is it, the lad who's involved in the Prime drink, who's trying to be a boxer, the Paul boy. And, you know, it was like, he takes a lot of flack, but someone had done a podcast recently, well, not recently, a little while ago, about him, and had stated that he had basically paid for him to go through rehab, and he saved his life. Yeah, this is someone who takes a lot of cop and a lot of flack because he's going into the boxing industry and what have you. But what I'm trying to say is there are people who are kind of secretly heroes who take a lot of flack themselves, and then you've got people who they only are rarely seen in the aftermath of tragedy to come out and say, yeah, he was an amazing person, best friend, I remember this, I remember that. But this is yet another person who has felt that they had nowhere to go, nothing to do but exit this world. So I suppose what I'm going to say is, if you are somebody who was going through pain, reach out. Because on the flip side of that coin, it would be unfair of me to turn around and say that these people didn't know, because we don't know how well he was hiding it. But it doesn't seem that he was hiding it that much, because we've got people like his ex, the aforementioned ex, who has said that he was repeatedly, and this isn't in the aftermath, this podcast was before he had done this, and she is openly talking about the fact that he is literally saying that he is perhaps not going to be around much longer. And you think to yourself, why are people listening to this and not taking action, not doing anything, not getting to the root cause? And it leads you back to that same old story, doesn't it, about how we as a world handle mental health and the issues surrounding that, the ignorance around it, the way in which it's kind of snubbed and hidden and pushed away like it's something that we don't talk about. And it needs to be talked about, it needs to be spoken about, it needs to be addressed, and people's behaviour needs to be addressed around it. Absolutely. And like I say, Liam Payne lost his life, and what will be his legacy? Was it avoidable, or was his death truly because of the way the world is and the way that fame is? Was it inevitable? Let me know down below. I'll catch you all in the next one.